Hello again. So I just wanted to give an update on um, my story so far. I appreciate all the support and everything that has been really helpful this week. From everything that happened when I did the video on Monday, to the outcry support that I got on Tuesday when I was on air. I just want to give a bit more context around the depths to where I actually was this year and what actually happened in a bit more detail. So basically, I left my job, and as I said, I went to Pats. But just to backtrack, give you a bit more history. I'm 29 and turning 30 in just over 2 weeks, from Tipperary, and I'm currently living in Dublin for the last 5 years. I, through my own life, have gone through periods of real challenges that my mindset has just been off. I've been to different countries where I've had to come home early because I didn't understand how to cope. I've been out at sea, to the real depths that it has made it really hard for me. I was actually meant to cross the Atlantic, but I couldn't because of my mindset, and an array of other challenges. There are just two that popped to mind. To give you an idea, my relationship broke down back in December, early January, and that pillar where I was living with my partner at the time all fell through. So within that midst, I ended up being in a state of shock. I was overwhelmed. So between January and February and March, I really didn't know what was going on. I was actually only starting to unfold, and everything started to break down around me. Every pillar that I had in my life really fell away. I thought I was losing contact with everybody, friends. I didn't think family were on my side. I kept shutting off, shutting out, and disconnected from everybody. It became really prevalent when it actually got to its worst point, where I, at a stage when I was in Dublin, actually after moving house 5 times, purely because I just wasn't happy. I was jumping from this option to the next option. I actually moved to actually see if I was going to leave Dublin. And in the midst of all that, I just couldn't get my headspace or anything head straight, really. So what happened was I actually said, I've had enough. This all came to fruition when I was actually put on meds. I was taken to Pieta House, and in my head I was like, I have enough. The following morning after my first Pieta House session, I went out to Dublin Airport, packed my bag, hopped out, went out to the Aer Lingus desk, and I was like, right, I'm leaving this country. Went as far as the Terminal 1, before the Aer Lingus desk. Every flight was sold out. Went to Terminal 2, Aer Lingus, Chicago was the first location, booked a flight, gone. I was running away. I kept running, but nothing in my head actually was changing. So, got over to the States, in a sense, never had been so tight, lonely, afraid. From there, when I actually turned around and actually got the first outcry of support, everything changed. So what happened for that change really was, beforehand I had a close knit of 3 people, my partner at the time and my 2 parents. It wasn't enough. Traditional all Irish mindset, bearing in mind my partner had a really open mind, it actually at the time got me the first steps to where I needed to get. It took me to Pieta House. Pieta House is a great service, and I just didn't realise this at the time. When I was over in the States, my brother stood in. Him being there for me was the biggest change. I didn't even realise how big of a change it actually would transpire to be to where I am now. He stood in and put in a network of support. The network of support basically was that he took over everything in my life and allowed me the basics to cope day to day. What he did within that is we put a group together within my friends and my family network that actually was a case that everything was communicated and all the responsibility was taken off me. From that point on, it really took a change for the better. It really had become a case of that he was there for me in my depth of difficulty. To give you an idea on where things even got to the depths of difficulty in those times, in those few months, in the early part of this year, I saw areas such as suicide as a way out. The way from this was just a way to explore, is it an option? So from that, what I mean was I had done all the research like anything in psychological states. I had everything backed up in my head to think, what were the options? How could I have done it? And you name it, I looked at every option. I looked at a noose as one and other areas as well. The noose was actually the one I did try and use because it was the one that was most readily available. And to be fair, it's actually the most painful from the research. And there is other options that I had looked at as well, even a place in Switzerland where you can actually go and end your own life. It's too easy for people to end their own lives. What I'm trying to say is that the message is you need to speak out. From attempts this year, it has been more than once. I'd say 6-7 times, and in the times in my head, it actually got to overbearing states with my family that ambulances were called, first aid in a sense. Everything was that Rory was just shutting out. He wasn't talking, and he was completely listening to only his own head. That he wanted just everything to be. He didn't want to deal with his problems. In the aftermath of that, all of those areas took months and months to get through. I then left and was in the States, as I said, opened up to my brother in New York. He answered the door with tears. We sat down, had a long chat, and on the back of that, he actually put the structure in place around, as I said earlier, all of the stuff that I needed. I went back to work in Dublin, and I'm very grateful to my company, Datadog at the time, who put such a network of support in through people like George Eccleston, Jack Whelan, to name but a few, in Datadog. They really, really were the initial people internally that really, really helped me. What they did is help me with George. What he did, to be fair, was give me a gratitude journal to help me self-reflect and be positive. Jack was very, very positive and gave me support day to day, along to name but a few, Rob, and a lot of other people that were there for me, Mark Alger, Richard, a huge amount of people that were around. What they are is a very, very forward-thinking company. They had so much support in place for me that what happened then was I actually got back on track and actually hit my target for May. I had such a number over my head from the initial part of the year that I actually stood out of the job. From there, I left and actually went to St. Pat's. My Pat's application wasn't even the easiest thing. I had gone to a plan B to try and get into Blackrock when I was actually out getting the option to try and get into Pat's initially, as was the VHI cover that I had at the time. It actually got declined because I had pre-existing conditions in a sense that actually had been prevalent since the start of Christmas. So you need up to 6 months onset to make sure that you actually are covered. So what I'm saying is speak out. On the back of this, Datadog actually threatened to pull the corporate account from VHI. On the back of that, I can say outstanding work from Kirsty Landers. She turned around the whole opportunity and actually got me into St. Pat's. For me, working on myself through my friends who really introduced me to all this year, Linus, Peter, and to name but a few, they were the two focal points that introduced me to the journey of self-exploration. A lady called Tess Hughes, who had written a book in Galway all about your internal journey inwards. From that, I got introduced to a book from Tim again, Carlos Dweck, from a traditional Irish mindset to an open mindset. And the books have just continued. I've been rapidly accelerating and increasing my mindset and growth and personal development since. I've challenged myself every day, hourly, weekly, and I literally have caused so much anxiety, even in my own support group, since I've got better because I've been challenging things so much. So I've been so positive. To even give you an example on all of the stuff that I have worked on, with everything that we have forward in the next few weeks, all of this has become a result of my hard work. I've invested over €20,000 of my own money to try and raise 100,000. I'm sitting at 100,000 with that number over my head. We're currently standing at €100, which I think, to be fair, is very, very low. Obviously, we can achieve the 100k, but I'm asking people to please be kind. I have people reaching out to me that are on suicidal watch, in a sense. I have people reaching out to me from Africa that don't have food. Please think of other people. Remember that you all have a roof over your head, I hope. If you don't, there is support there and we can help you with that. But at the same time, remember on the back of this that you do need to reach out and actually help other people and help yourself. So back to that, as I mentioned, with the likes of Michael O'Brien, I challenged myself to get in front of him. I sent him down a gratitude gesture with a Kerry jersey to the staff. We got in front of them, which was really, really, really good. And I'm very, very grateful for all of those in St. Oliver's. We will be down with them for 2 days that week. On the back of that, I've done gratitude gestures to name but a few in Dublin. I did ones with Indeed, Datadog, and a few other companies as well that were involved in my support chain, my doctors, and other people in Dublin in general. But to even give you the Indeed example, people couldn't understand the positivity. Like, I basically arrived on and handed out a positive gesture of food that I was trying to donate to say thank you for all of my time in there. And the reception that I got was, to be fair, shocking. It was actually a case where people were actually nearly saying, "Rory, are you okay?" They couldn't understand it. St. Pat's got alerted and everything like that. It was just chaos from something so small of me trying to be so generous. To be honest, I forgive everybody. I lead with empathy, and the gesture in itself should have been handled probably better. But at the same time, the element of that it all came from the right place was, to me, my intention, which I believe was good. On the back of that, to give you an idea on St. Pat's, as I mentioned, Shane Carty was in there. There's an array of other people that are in there. If your VHI policy covers it, please explore these places because they are fantastic. I am aiming to hopefully get in there in the documentary to give you an idea and give you more context around it. But to give you a flavour, it gives you all the coping skills such that you will be able to cope in general, such as occupational therapy, mindfulness, Pilates, 24/7 support from nurses, and all those things. And you meet great like-minded people in there. It's a learning curve, so please reach out. In the midst of all that, as I said, in the next few weeks, we will be working towards the documentary, but I just wanted to give you a further in-depth analysis to where I am, and I will go deeper and I will get more realistic to where I am, because I believe only me showing my true self and my true story gives you an idea of who I am, what I'm about, and actually what we're aiming to achieve. The whole mission is to help people cope, take that first step, and actually achieve something that could be a difference in someone else's life. This week alone, from my vibrations, a lady has reached out to me who attempted suicide, and I have managed to show her the road on the right path to support. That to me is life-changing. I hope you can make a difference and change someone else's life. Thank you.